Hi, in this video, we are going to look at exponential fractions with more than one term. As an example, I would like to look at the fraction 3 to the power of x minus 3 to the power of x minus 1 all over 3 to the power of x plus 3 to the power of x plus 2. Now, the plus and minus signs show us how many terms we are working with. In the numerator, we have got two terms, 3 to the power of x and 3 to the power of x minus 1. In the denominator, we also have two terms, 3 to the power of x and 3 to the power of x plus 2. If we have more than one term in either the numerator or the denominator of the fraction, we cannot cancel. To tackle a fraction like this, we need to factorize. In order to do this, we need to split the exponents. If you are not familiar with how to do this, please go and watch our video on factorizing exponential expressions. Let's start by splitting the exponents within this fraction. We have got 3 to the power of x, leave it as it is. Then we have a minus sign. In the second term, we have 3 to the power of x multiplied by 3 to the power of negative 1 all over 3 to the power of x, I can leave it as it is, plus 3 to the power of x multiplied by 3 squared, and we can close our bracket. Please remember that values and variables that are multiplied together become one term. So here we have one term and our second term. In the denominator, our first term and our second term. The aim here is to remove the same common factor from both the numerator and the denominator of the fraction. In fractions like these, the common factor will always be the term with the variable. So in this case, 3 to the power of x. So let's remove 3 to the power of x from our numerator and the denominator of the fraction. So we can say 3 to the power of x. Remember that when you're removing a factor, you are actually dividing. So 3 to the power of x divided by 3 to the power of x leaves us with 1. Then we have a minus sign. In our second term, we take out 3 to the power of x, and we're left with 3 to the power of negative 1 all over. In the denominator, once again, take out 3 to the power of x, and we're left with 1, plus, in our second term, we have 3 squared. Let's say 3 squared over here. Once the terms are outside of the bracket, they will cancel each other out, and we can focus on the values inside. So in this case, 3 to the power of x and 3 to the power of x will cancel. And we're left with 1 minus 3 to the power of negative 1, which is 1 over 3, all over 1 plus 3 squared, which we know is 9. And now we can simplify. 1 minus 1 over 3 gives us 2 over 3. I'm going to write it over here. 1 plus 9 is 10 over 10. But we don't like having fractions within fractions. So let's move the denominator of the small fraction into the denominator of the big one. We're going to have 2 over 3 multiplied by 10. 3 multiplied by 10 is 30. So we get 2 over 30. 2 and 30 are both divisible by 2. So divide by 2, and we get 1 over 15. And we have now simplified this expression. Let's make some space.